I'm Christoph Altstaedt. I'm a freelance conductor. Haydn is very comforting, but so is Strauss. I feel more and more this kind of need to go to arts and music and to be comforted by that. I think there is an additional weight when approaching a concert on Good Friday because although I personally don't have any faith in religion, I feel very much that religion kind of structures our year in, from Christmas, Easter, etc., etc. And I like these moments, these festive days. I like to look at them as an opportunity to reflect about my meaning of life, my purpose in life, my time left on earth and how to spend it. And I think these kind of thoughts are kind of forgotten in the stress of daily life. And it's good from time to time to just stand still and reflect on these things. And also for the purpose of reflecting on Good Friday, you choose pieces which are special, something which goes beyond an entertaining, let's say, program like overture, concert, break, symphony, because it gives us the opportunity to find an equivalent in music which transform you in a way that other pieces don't. And without wanting to sound too pathetic, looking at the state of the world at the moment, I feel more and more this kind of need to go to arts and music and to be comforted by that. It feels like they transport a truth and a humanistic kind of knowledge or wisdom that we don't find and don't see in daily life and politics naturally now at the moment. So I feel like I need to go back to that kind of music to regain my inner strength, my inner belief in humankind. What does the music mean beyond the notes? And this kind of message is something we should always look for. And it can be religious, it can be totally secular, it can be whatever, but there's not a difference, I think. I think the answer for Haydn is relatively easy because it was a piece written for contemplation. It was written for Good Friday. It had a purpose of being played in a 3-hour-long kind of contemplative ceremony of the last 7 words in church. So it's obvious that this is meant to be a reflective work. The church in Spain, in Cadix, really commissioned him to write a piece for this kind of 3-hour-long ceremony, which would start at noon, at lunchtime, and go until 3 o'clock in the afternoon when Jesus died. And during these 3 hours, the 7 last words of Jesus would be read. That's why there are 7 slow movements. There are very slow kind of contemplative movements. So it was a commissioned piece for a very specific purpose. Haydn himself decided to add an opening piece and this kind of earthquake music at the end, which of course is happening in the Bible, right? It says when he dies, the curtain is ripped apart and there is a thunderstorm. And so Haydn decided to have this kind of thunderous, a really wild music at the end after 7 movements of meditation. I think of it like a genius kind of idea which suddenly struck him. And for me, it has this effect that I'm kind of so shaken. I feel like, okay, now I'm back into real life. It's kind of, okay, now away from spiritual world to literally the ground, although it's shaking, but then, at the end, it leaves you there. I don't know why he did it. I really have no idea. But it's a brilliant genius effect. The style he writes it is kind of, it's old music style. Also the way he notates it, the way he puts like these minim notes which are square, is kind of musica antica, is kind of old choral music. So he really refers to kind of basic fundaments of our musical history. Strauss, on the other side, I would say, expands tonality to his absolute maximum. So there's a link from the very beginning of tonal music towards the very end of tonal music, written in a time where atonality and 12th tone was already established. But Strauss, for a last time, kind of, I think, extends the tonal possibilities to an absolute maximum. And that also feels like there's an era coming to an end there. With Strauss, there's not like an outer stimulation or purpose for the piece. It really feels like this piece was written at the end of a very long, fulfilled composer's life in a very, very dark time during the Second World War. And it feels more like an inner reflection on life in general. For me, this piece is very enigmatic. Somehow we know the context in which it has been written. We know some quotes about Goethe and the idea of metamorphosis, like how life changes and how we kind of shift through life. We know that he was deeply emotional about seeing all the cultural sites of Germany being destroyed in the last month of the Second World War, like Dresden, and the Munich Opera House was bombed. So I really think he saw his life really going down into ruins and everything he believed in. So there is a very personal, tragic aspect about this piece, which you can hear. But then there are these kind of indications, like musical quotes from Beethoven Eroica, or his words in memoriam when it comes at the end, where we don't really know what it is about. Is it in memoriam of who? Is it in memoriam of culture? Is it in memoriam of Beethoven? We really don't know. So there's a lot of space for interpretation. Although it ends kind of very intimate and tragic and sad, it's like a catharsis. It feels like you've gone through it and it almost, you feel comforted, although you've been just confronted with lots of sadness. But I leave this piece with goosebumps. Actually, I have some now. Goosebumps and comfort and somehow the belief that at the end everything will be good again. It feels like Strauss is almost drawing a conclusion of his artistic life. And for me, this reflects so much like painfulness, sadness, but also joy, hopefulness, everything which you experience in a lifetime. So it really feels like it's like life. It's bigger than life. You can find everything in it. It's like, yeah, it's a secular comment on life and a contemplation on life in general, yeah. And this piece for sure is like that. Because it was written in one of the most tragic and horrible times in human history, then there is still this kind of inner peace which resonates in that piece, and that kind of restores your hope that there might be better times to come.